Good morning. You are on the Daily Huddle. We stream live at the Daily Huddle on YouTube. And today's conversation, Jill, I feel like we're about to uncover the holy grail for companies. It's that thing that every company wants. And it is also that thing that eludes most companies. And what that thing is, Gio, is a high performing culture. So the title of today's conversation is Why Do Most Companies Fail at Creating a High Performing Culture? Are you as excited about this as I am?
Oh, I love it. I love today's
Oh,
conversation.
man. So, I think we should just dive straight into it. If you ask any company owner, any business owner, any executive, any senior leader in corporate America, they will tell you we want a high performing culture. And yet, many struggle to achieve that. And I think the first question we need to consider, Gio, is this one. What is a high performing culture in the first place? Well, what is that? What is it that companies are trying to achieve? What is it?
Do you want me to answer it?
Yeah, what do you say?
Yeah. That's just a great question. And I think, like you said, whether I'm just starting my business or whether I have a team of five or a team of 1,000, I think all of us, in many ways, need to intend to. It's in our priority to create a high performing team, right? And what does that even mean? Well, I don't know what it means, Sora, but I know what it looks like. And here's what it looks like. People working together,
Yeah.
people communicating with one another with very little resistance, people saying things like, man, I love working here. Oh, I'm so glad I work here. Man, I love the people I work with. Oh, this environment is so great. I love where this is going. And clients are saying things like, man, I'm really glad I have that supplier. I'm really glad I work with that company. I love their customer service. I feel it's very personalized. I feel that although technology, they're using technology, I don't feel like I'm a number, I'm a transaction, or another bot is talking to me. Right? It's a very customized, personalized kind of environment that leaves people enjoying the experience of their lives. And also when they go home, they are able to have peace at their house, not like, oh, I'm glad I'm home because I'm not hanging out with my boss, or that environment which is taking away my self-esteem, and the family start saying things like, man, I'm so glad you work there. I'm
Yeah.
so glad, because it's crazy out there. I'm so glad. That's a little bit of what, and people get the job done and they're growing and
Yeah.
they are excited about the challenges of the competition and the marketplace. That's more or less what a high performing culture looks like. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's a team of five or a team of 1,000. It looks like that.
And there are many examples out there, right? And I'm not going to pick on any company to make anybody jealous or myself jealous. But, when I think of Apple, Apple has a high performing culture. And when I think of the company that my wife runs, very small
Well,
compared to
Apple, I don't know if Apple has a high performing culture. App, Apple creates high performing results in the world.
well,
Culture, I don't know. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Like, for example, let's use Ellen DeGeneres,
Okay.
the comedian.
Yeah,
She created high performing results,
yeah,
really high performing results. A talk show seen by every single mom in America. The world, in many ways, connected with her giddiness and her funniness and her ability to connect an audience and connect people and get people's humanity to laugh. Now, the culture inside of her organization was not a high performing culture. She created high performing results, but not a high performing culture. And as many people who probably listening to this, she really had a real challenge to be able to create what she created for the world inside her organization. She had a real challenge with that. And I want to say one more thing, Sorrel.
Yeah,
This was not
please.
about that, but I really like what she said in her last show in Netflix. She was saying it was her last show, and I hope it's not. Because I love her. She said, I don't know why in the world was I the boss? Like, why? I was a comedian. I was not supposed to ever be the boss.
Let me
And
do
I
my
became the
thing.
boss. Was that?
Let me do my thing and let
Let me
somebody
do my
else
thing.
be the boss. They might have had a better shot at creating a high performing
A
culture.
high performing culture.
Yeah.
So that amalgamation that we're pointing to, it's critical for teams
Yeah.
that the leader who is a visionary, who has the energy and has the characteristic of someone who can get the job done, the leader is able to create an environment where people can say the things that we said earlier.
Yeah.
And that's a high performing culture. Now, why is it critical? Because no company is too big to fail. No company is too big to fail. And we have countless and countless of examples of that. And also, there is no company that is too small to not grow. People are at the core, at the heart of innovation, growth, everything. People are at the heart of that. And what we're talking about today is to give people the tools, the insights on how to create a high performing culture.
Yeah. And who wouldn't want that? A place where people come and they say, I love the place. I love my work. I love my team. And they go home and their family members are saying, man, I love that you work there. Because what a high performing culture produces for the people who work there is high performing individuals that live fulfilled life wherever they are. So, in that sense, given that it sounds so simple to you, right? So, why is it that most companies struggle to achieve this? And I have a couple of ideas. I'll throw them out, and then you add to it, please. Uh, I think that when companies look out there, they mistakenly point to the results being achieved as the evidence for high performing culture. So they compare their companies, they compare themselves against other companies, and they go to work at winning the game of being in business, at producing the results that will wow their clients and keep their clients. So many companies go for the results, but instead of thriving, what they bump up against are all the inconveniences and common frustrations that human beings bring to the party. Like if you're not in an environment where you love being there, guess what? You won't show up. So companies deal with absenteeism when they're trying to create a high performing culture, all the while producing great results, right? You'll find team members withholding information. Team members are in an environment where they're competing against each other. And the currency for being a high performer in that environment is the information I have, the skills I have. So what do? I withhold what I know and I don't play. And that generates inside of a team a kind of conflict that is always in the background and nobody acknowledges it. As a matter of fact, people who are trying to create high performing cultures actually celebrate that competition. Employees are pitted against one another. Departments are pitted against one another. You find that how people survive in that environment is that they create their own little fiefdoms, silos, and they talk about each other in a way that elevates them. So they gossip. So for all the hard work, for all the money that many organizations spend to try to create a high performing culture, they find themselves bumping against these inconveniences while producing good results. So over
Well,
time,
trying to produce the results.
yeah,
I have a client that right now we are a prospect, not a client yet, that we're trying to get into, which you don't know about yet. That I've been meaning to share this with you in our never-ending list of things that we talk about. Um, and so this is a company that builds um, manufactures tools for construction, and they have about 300 employees or so. And now they are committed to get the results done. They're really committed. And they have the right departments: research and development, technology, marketing, accounting, HR. They have all the departments, right? However, what they find themselves is what I think what you're pointing to is a survival culture. Although the right departments are there, and although people are committed to do their job, if you will, they have their own job role, if you will, and they're committed to doing it, and they're committed that the company grows. As far as commitment is concerned, it's palpable. People are committed.
yeah,
But what they do is what you're saying. What they do is they create silos. This person doesn't talk to that person. What they do is this person gossip about the other person. What they do is that they say, well, I do a better job than that person, so I should have the promotion. And so they create this environment. I don't often like to use this word, Sorel, but I'm going to use it, which they create a toxic environment. And I can really say, Sorel, that they're not celebrating it. They're not celebrating the environment. They're surviving the environment.
yeah,
And they kind of hope that if they pay people more money, they're going to get rid of all these inconveniences, like we say.
yeah,
Now, what is palpable, Sorrel, what I can see in this organization and these teams and most teams, and I hate generalizations, but what I can see in most teams is that the glue that keeps people together is the paycheck. And most companies find themselves there.
yeah,
And the leaders know it, and they know if by some breakdown they miss giving a paycheck for some
yeah,
reason or another, 80% of the company is gone.
yeah. And
Because people are not connected to something bigger than the only thing that keeps it together. If I don't get a paycheck, I'm gone, man. Or I can't wait to get a better paycheck somewhere else.
yeah,
Or I can't wait. So this is that kind of survival culture that most companies are dealing with. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. It has created innovation. It has created progress. It has created a lot of things. However, for those people who are listening to us, the shelf life of a company that has a low performing culture is very short. Not big, not too big to fail. It's very small. Somebody else will come, competition will come, create the same, manufacture the same products or different products, and the marketplace will be okay. But your company will not. It's just
yeah.
that's what I wanted to kind of add to the conversation.
Yeah, and I want to stand on your shoulders. You said something about the money, the paycheck being the glue that keeps it all together. And I thought to myself, it's not really the glue because the people are not together. They're just under the same roof. They keep coming back because the paycheck is there. So the togetherness that we're looking for, the glue that we're looking for, must be something else. And I think that gives us a
It's
segue.
like, Sorel, it's like families.
Yeah.
Most families, most families, the glue that keeps them together is the DNA. I
Yeah.
mean, it's something like, well, you're already my brother,
I
so
might as
what
well
else am
keep
I
you.
gonna do? You're already my uncle. What else am I gonna do? You're already my cousin. What else am I gonna do? And so what keeps the glue together is kind of like the DNA, the family together is kind of like the DNA.
Yeah.
But if that DNA wasn't there, most people are unwilling to reinvent themselves or reinvent a family or reinvent a culture that high performing is possible, or access to it, or just get it a little bit better. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to add that.
So, you people who are listening can say what they say, but I think at the very core of everything, people want a high performing culture. Two, they struggle to create it. And in dealing with the inconveniences we're talking about, they spend a ton of money. They spend a ton of time. They spend a ton of talent trying to deal with the inconvenience. So in this episode, Gio, we're really intentional. We want to be really intentional about saying, so what can leaders do to create a high performing culture? And there are a couple of things they can do.
Yeah, and I want to say something, Sorel. What can leaders do now? What we're about to share with you, this is not something we tried in one company. This is something that we've been doing for 15 years at the level of the largest organizations in the planet, companies with 20,000 employees. We've done it at the level of the United Nations. We've done it at the level of police departments. We've done it at the level of government. We've done it at the level of small businesses. Now, what we're about to tell you, it's going to sound simple, but it needs a kind of intention that only a leader who's putting the money to keep a company together needs to hear it, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to go away. And just because you know it, it means doesn't mean anything. And just because you do it one time, it doesn't mean anything either. This is kind of a structure that one needs to create over and over and over and over to create unprecedented results.
So
It's
what?
kind of like, Sorrel, I'm going to say this. It's kind of like the team that wins the Super Bowl. The team that wins the Super Bowl has certain structures to be able to get there. The moment the structures are not there, that team will no longer win the Super Bowl. It's like that. So go ahead, Sorrel.
It's like that. So teams practice, right? They're all of the work that makes winning the Super Bowl possible doesn't happen during the game. Teams practice. So as Gio's pointing to, what we're inviting you to adopt, what we're inviting you to create in your companies, it's gonna sound simple. And it's not something you do one time, it's a practice. And this practice has 3 steps. Gio, I'm gonna say the steps, I'm gonna say something about them, and then let's have a conversation about that. The first step, it's going to sound obvious, okay? So buckle up. Invest in communication training. When you look at your companies, your company works the way it's working now because there are people in that company who are talking to each other. Nothing gets done in your company absent people talking to each other. So you could say that the talk that people talk is actually the engine that drives the performance of the organization. So, one, invest in communication training. Now, two, that communication, the talk that people talk, happens in some way in most organizations. You could say that people come into your company and they talk the way they talk at home. People come into your company that talk the way they talk from their culture. People come into your company and they talk the way they talk in their neighborhood. It's this kind of talk that's not really connected to anything. It gives you an environment where you have the opportunity to deal with the inconveniences we talked about earlier. So, step two, in addition to investing in communication training, you have to align your core team with a mission, a vision, and a set of core values. Now, if you're lucky, you'll have a team that says, we're going to sit together and we're going to create that together. So, mission, vision, and core values are not worth the paper they're written on unless they're shared. So, it's essential that if you already have them, that you spend the time to align your team and get your team connected to your mission, vision, and core values. And if you don't have them, don't create them by yourself. Engage the entire team in making that happen. That's practice number 2. Practice number 3, operationalize the core values in every process and every aspect of the organization. I don't care if it's how you evaluate the performance of your employees, how you design your processes to manufacture or create the service that you create. Every single aspect of the company is rooted in, connected to, and driven by the mission, the vision, and the core values. A company manual, meetings, decisions, performance evaluations, daily practices, every single thing. Now, if you take these 3 steps, you rinse and you repeat them for how long? For the rest of eternity. That is how any organization can create and sustain a high-performing culture. Now, Gio, it sounds like, I'm laying the Bible on people, and I want you to say something about it.
Yeah, no, this is such a big deal. I love every now and then I'm leading teams, right? And I lead to large large gatherings, and I always ask this question: Hey, raise your hand if you would like to buy a business and make money with that business, and you don't work in the business. And 90% of the room says, I want to buy a business. I don't have to work on the business, and I can make money from the business. So what Sorel is pointing to is a critical 3-step process to create a high-performing culture with any business, any product, any services that will make you money. And you can't take this light. It's like I'm going to create a basketball team, and I'm not going to have them practice on free shots. That would be insane. That's how important this is. So I'm going to recreate those 3. The first one is invest in communication. Doesn't matter if your team is 5, 10, or 1,000. Invest in communication, because most people row against each other. Most people's commitments collide with the other person's commitments, and people don't know how to talk. People really, really argue whether it's a 6 or a 9. And people go to war for the 6 or the 9, and they destroy the company. They destroy the future. All emotions get tied up, and people end up suing, running, doing the dumbest things in the world because they don't know how to communicate or manage their emotions. So that's why you gotta invest in communication, whether it's a team of 5 or a team of 1,000, right? The second step that Sorel said is critical. You gotta align your people, the people that you work with, to something bigger than themselves. I don't know if you've noticed, but human beings are very self-destructive. So, you know what I mean? So you've got to connect them to a mission, something that is bigger than them, and a vision and a certain core values. Now, some companies or most companies have a mission, vision, and core values. However, almost none, the people are actually connected to them emotionally. It's just something that a leadership team did like 5 years ago, and it is on file, or it's at the door of somebody's company, but nobody's connected emotionally. So you got to meet with your people, as many as you can, and connect with them emotionally, and have them say things and have them reinvent themselves around it. And you got to hear the whole thing, because here's a principle that Sorel was pointing to. And write this down if you're a leader and you have a team. This will make you millions. People support what they help create or what they see as theirs. I'm going to say it again. This is a golden nugget. If you have a business, people support what they help create or what they see as theirs. And finally, Sorel said something critical, and maybe the most important one, I don't know. Create your processes, your manuals, your meetings, the entire life cycle of the product or services or the client around the core values of the organization, the core values of your company. And this is important. Why? Because you want people to talk, interact, give feedback, make meetings all around the core values. And that begins to shape people's psychology. And people start talking differently. And they start talking high performance. They start talking high standards. And it's intentional. So these are the 3 steps, Sorel. These are like critical aspects. If you are listening to this conversation and you're like, whoa, oh my God, this is amazing. Here's my suggestion. Find a company, like, so my company, Sorrel's company, like our company, to help you and support you in guiding, putting these three things. Once you have them forever. You become a transformational leader. Don't do this alone. It's quite, it really takes something without a particular practice. So that's what I wanted to say, Sorrel.
Absolutely. Let's open it up. We've got 4 minutes left. That's plenty of time for someone to chime in and take a piece of this conversation and make it theirs. So I'm inviting you now. Who's got something to contribute and say?
Comments, questions, yeah, buts. I love the yeah, buts. Go ahead, Stan. Then you, Robin.
Yeah, what comes to my mind is I've heard it said before. I might not be saying it I'll say it the exact way I've heard it, but that you can pay a person, you can pay your employees to work at the company, but you can't pay them to be engaged. You can't pay them. You can pay them. You can even make it very difficult for them not to show up. With maybe they won't get paid if they don't show up, but you can't make them show up with themselves.
I love that.
You can't pay them to show up with themselves. You can't. I don't care how much you pay them. You cannot pay them to show up with themselves being there. There's no amount
That's
of money
so
that can pay
great,
them.
Stan.
Yeah.
And Stan, you remind me of that quote from that guy, Simon Sinek. He says, without great people, even great ideas are useless. You can pay people to show up, but you cannot pay them to be great.
You can't pay them
It's
to be
so
present.
great, man. It's so great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stan.
Pay them to show up, but you can't pay them to be present.
And what we're also pointing to, Gio and Stan and everyone, is that though I cannot pay you to show up your full self, I can take responsibility for creating and maintaining an environment that makes it possible for you to show up and be your smartest self, not in comparison to anybody else, but to be your smartest self. You are free and open to be you. I can take responsibility for being the one, as the leader and the company owner, that creates that environment. Yeah, Stan, awesome stuff, man. Robin, your mic is off, brother.
And I like the background, Robin. Your microphone keeps being off, but this is a really cool background. Oh, he left us. He'll come back. Yeah, and
put him right back.
What you do, Sorrel. But I want to say something. Go ahead, Robin.
Go ahead.
I don't know if my mic. Oh, there, now it's working. All right,
There
great.
you go.
So I want to say that I took away from this that you guys have brought a few things to my attention that I think I've been slacking on. I haven't been showing up with myself, Stan. I have I'm letting the company kind of run on autopilot, expecting people to just naturally exceed and excel. And I have some newfound ideas, and I like the fact of verbalizing it, speaking about it, creating the culture and letting them be a part of creating it, because people take ownership of things they create. So I just got I mean, like, this was the $10,000 leadership meeting for me this morning. I'll send the check, guys. Perfect for me to hear. I got some guys at my shop that are, they're just not giving it all. And I'm like, well, hey, maybe that's because you're not showing up and giving your all. So thank you. I'm grateful. And we're going to start some conversations today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Robin.
Man, this is awesome. I really want to say something. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I want to acknowledge Robin for showing up right now. The cool thing about it is that how you just showed up now is exactly how showing up in the environment. So that kind of vulnerability that you just demonstrated humanizes being the leader. It leaves you being someone who is searching. Gio and I were talking about this conversation, and the reason we began by saying, so what is a high-performing culture anyway? I mean, we began to look and said, oh my God, maybe I don't know what it really looks like. And maybe the only way I find out is by opening up the way you did, stumbling and falling around with the team. And then together we create something that we love, regardless of how good it looks. So don't wait for it to look good before you go for it.
That's right.
Thank you, Robin. That's what I wanted to say to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sorrel. Thank you for saying that. Robin, thank you for showing up and creating this, and really excites me. One of the things that excites me the most about Daily Huddle and Fridays and is what you just did. It's like, whoa, I just got a nugget I can use in my company, and I'm going to get them together. And guys, what are we going to do in the next 5 years? But what's the mission? And what's the vision? And what's the core values? And man, create all of that stuff. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for being here. And in any way we can support that possibility, man, I wanna be part of that, because I really, really, really love you. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for connecting today. Thank you, Sorrel. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, all of you, for being here and being part of this amazing, amazing family. I have a mentor in marketing, a marketing mentor, and he says to me, Gio, you don't have a marketing problem. You have a movement problem. You know, you've got to connect people and communities to something that they like, that they care about around your product and services. You don't have a marketing problem. You have a movement problem. So I don't know how to do movements and all that stuff, but what I do know is appreciate people I love. So thank you all for being here. So Sorrel, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and close us.
Very, very quickly, though, because, conversations, words disappear. And I'm going to say some words that are going to disappear. It's for the benefit, for your benefit, for the benefit of your company. Guess what? You may want a high-performing culture. Know that your company currently has a culture. It's the culture given by the conversations going on right now. So you want a different culture? Take the responsibility to create a different set of conversations. And it's not just about strategy, it's about the people. It's about aligning the people, connecting them to something bigger. And you don't just connect the people to that something bigger. You let that bigger something define everything throughout the organization. Your processes, your policies, the way you interact with people, customer service, you name it. And so go to your company, go to your team, take a small first step, just like Robin's going to. And come back to the Daily Huddle, because there is more. Joe, we should close it out the way we usually do.
Go ahead, Sorrel, because I had momentum and you took it away. So now you go.
No, I hate that happens.
I don't know why that was necessary, Sorrel, but
The communication messed up the culture all of a sudden. What happened here?
I was like, Sorrel, I have momentum. Why you brought me down?
What happens?
Now you bring us up, but you got to do it with energy. Don't go slow. Now give me energy, because
I'm going to give you the Gio kind of energy, right?
Thank you.
Gio, I love you. And that's our first tenet. Love the people who disagree with you. Love the people you'd love to hate. Love them anyway. Laugh out loud. If you can't laugh out loud, just find somebody to tickle you. And it will feel fake at first, but when laughter takes you over, believe me, you are a new human being. So laugh out loud. Eat mostly plant-based. You cannot laugh too long if you're weighed down by what you eat. Eat something that's good for you and make it conscious. I was talking to a friend yesterday. He said, when you eat, it could be an experience. You could actually taste the food as opposed to just swallowing it. So take your time, eat well, and make your eating something that's as important as creating a DNA for your company. Give of yourself, give of your company, give of your life. Stress less. And you know what? If you're stressing now, take a look at this tenet. Sleep some more. 6, nah, inadequate. 7, nah, inadequate. 8 hours minimum. So if you're between 7 and 8, You might be good. You might wake up, and whichever side of the bed you wake up on, it will be the right side. And check your assumptions. Move and exercise. Make your life the kind of life you want. Be a renegade like my friend Patty Dabrowski. Take those 8 tenets and run with them. This is your Daily Huddle. Come back on Monday morning. We're here every morning, 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. We'll see you then.